Hey, tonight we're going to drift back nearly 2,000 years into the hot, cramped, and brutally efficient world of the Roman Empire. Not the grand marble statues that still stand in ruins today. Not the philosophers debating in shaded forums, their words echoing through eternity. Not the emperors with golden crowns lounging in palaces of luxury and excess. Tonight, you're going somewhere much lower, deeper into the shadows of history, where the light of glory never reaches. Before we begin, settle in, lower the lights, let the room go quiet. Find a comfortable position, perhaps lying back with your eyes closed, letting the weight of the day slip away. If you enjoy these slow journeys into uncomfortable history, these tales that whisper the forgotten truths of the past, you can like the video and subscribe, but only if it helps you sleep. No pressure. This is your time to unwind. Now, breathe in slowly. Feel the air fill your lungs. Hold it for a moment. And breathe out. Let yourself sink into tonight's story like drifting into a vast, dark sea. It begins with chains. Not the dramatic ones from epic tales clanging in heroic struggles against fate. No, these are simple, practical things. Cold iron links, heavy and unyielding, biting into your ankles as you're herded forward with dozens of others, your bare feet shuffling over rough, sun-baked earth. You don't know exactly where you are anymore. Somewhere near the coast of the Mediterranean, perhaps near Ostia or Carthage. Somewhere Roman, where the empire's grasp stretches like an endless shadow. It barely matters. The language around you blurs into harsh commands barked in Latin, mixed with bored insults from the guards. You catch fragments, words like vermin or useless, but they wash over you like waves. You were captured in a distant war, maybe on the fringes of Gaul or Hispania, where Roman legions crushed rebellions with mechanical precision. Or perhaps you were arrested for a debt you couldn't pay, sold at auction in a dusty forum. Or simply unlucky enough to be in the wrong village when Roman soldiers swept through needing fresh bodies to fill quotas. The reason fades fast, like a dream upon waking. What happened before is a haze. Family, home, freedom, they dissolve into irrelevance. What matters now is where you're going. The guards prod you onward with the butts of their spears, not hard enough to injure, but enough to remind you of your place. The smell hits first, carried on the salty breeze from the harbor. Salt from the sea, sharp and briny. Tar from the ship's hull, thick and acrid. Human waste festering in the heat. Rotting wood soaked in seawater, mingled with the faint metallic tang of blood. Ahead of you sits the galley. Long, low, narrow. A trireme, perhaps, with 3 banks of oars designed by engineers who prized efficiency over humanity. Like a floating coffin stretched across the water, its sleek form cutting through waves with predatory grace. This is not a ship meant for comfort or leisurely voyages. It's meant for speed, for war, for domination. And speed comes from muscle. Your muscle, and the muscles of hundreds like you, ground down into fuel for the empire's ambitions. They march you down the gangplank, the wooden planks creaking under the weight of too many lives pressed together in a shuffling mass. The ship rocks gently in the harbor, but there's no gentleness in the hands that shove you below. Below deck, the air thickens instantly, hot like stepping into a furnace, wet with humidity that clings to your skin, already stale, heavy with the breath of those who came before. You're pushed forward, stumbling over uneven boards slick with grime, until you reach your place. A bench. That's it. No private cabin with linens, no soft bed to cradle your weary body. Just a narrow wooden plank, scarred and splintered, bolted firmly to the floor. It's barely wide enough for your hips, forcing you to sit hunched. Beneath it, your ankles are locked into iron rings fixed directly into the deck. The smith hammers the pins shut with a clang that echoes in your bones. The chain is short, Just enough slack to allow your legs to shift slightly, but not enough to stand fully. You'll learn to live in this half-crouch, your world reduced to the space between bench and oar. This is where you live now, a Roman galley slave, the lowest thing that can still breathe, lower even than the beasts of burden that pull plows on distant farms. In the empire's vast hierarchy, you are the foundation stone, buried deep and forgotten. There are 3 levels of men on this ship, stacked like layers in a cruel pyramid. Above deck are the soldiers and officers, legionaries in segmented armor, centurions with vine staffs. They see sunlight filtering through sails. They feel the fresh wind on their faces, carrying the scent of open sea. They discuss tactics, gamble with dice, dream of promotions and loot. Below them are the sailors, free men at least, paid men drawn from the empire's ports, Greeks, Egyptians, Syrians. They handle the rigging, adjust the sails, navigate by stars. They eat proper meals, sleep in shifts on hammocks. And then there's you, the rowers, hundreds of you, crammed into the lower decks. Packed shoulder to shoulder, your elbows brushing against the man beside you with every motion. The air down here is shared, recycled breath after breath, growing thicker with each exhale. Each man chained to his bench like a component in a vast living machine. You are not individuals, you are oarsmen, interchangeable parts in the galley's relentless engine. You get an oar. It's massive, longer than you are tall, heavy, hewn from oak or pine, rough with splinters that dig into your palms like tiny needles. When you lift it for the first time, testing its weight, your shoulders scream immediately, muscles protesting the unfamiliar strain. You haven't even begun yet. This is just the prelude. The overseer walks the narrow aisle between the banks of benches, his boots thudding of the wooden catwalk. He's a freedman, perhaps, or a low-ranking sailor elevated to this role. His face is scarred, his eyes hard from years of enforcing obedience. He carries a whip, long, braided leather, tipped with knots or metal for extra bite. But he rarely needs to use it at first. Fear does most of the work. Because there's something worse than the whip. The drum. A large, taut-skinned instrument mounted at the stern, beaten by a dedicated slave or sailor. When it begins, everything else disappears. Boom, boom, boom. That sound is your new heartbeat, overriding your own pulse. Each strike tells you when to pull, synchronizing the oars in perfect unison. The galley depends on this rhythm. Without it, the ship would flounder, oars clashing like tangled limbs. Pull too slow, and the whip finds your back, cracking like thunder, leaving welts that burn for hours. Pull too fast, and you burn out early, your energy spent before the voyage demands more. There is no winning here, no praise for effort, only lasting longer than the man next to you, delaying the moment when your body betrays you. Your body quickly learns the rhythm, muscle memory taking over where will falters. Pull, leaning back, hauling the oar through the water with your entire core. Breathe, gasping in the stale air as you push forward to reset. Pull, breathe. Your hands blister within hours, skin rubbing raw against the wood. The blisters burst, and they don't stop bleeding after that. The salt water that seeps through the hull or splashes in during rough seas keeps the wounds open, raw, alive with stinging pain. Sweat drips into your eyes, salty and blinding, but you can't lift your hand to wipe it away without missing a beat. It runs down your face, mixing with grime, forming rivulets on your neck. Your ankles ache constantly from the chains, the iron rubbing skin away bit by bit, exposing tender flesh that swells and festers. Someone near you vomits, the acrid bile splashing onto the deck. Another man faints, slumping forward over his oar. Neither stops the drum. The rhythm marches on, inexorable. The oars keep moving, propelled by the collective effort. If someone collapses completely, the men next to him are forced to row harder to compensate, their grunts turning to groans as they pick up the slack. Later, his body will be unchained, not gently.
The overseer yanks the pins free, and two sailors drag the limp form up the aisle, bumping over benches, leaving a trail of fluids. You hear the splash later, muffled by the hull. Another soul claimed by the sea, forgotten in an instant. The empty spot is filled quickly if spares are on board, a new face chained in, wide-eyed and trembling. Historically, Roman galleys relied on this system because it worked in the cold calculus of empire. Free rowers, like those in earlier Greek fleets, needed rest, fair pay, motivation. Slaves could be pushed until they broke, expendable in the pursuit of victory. There are records, scratched on wax tablets or inscribed in naval logs, of ships carrying spare slaves, knowing some would die mid-voyage from exhaustion, injury, or despair. You are replaceable, completely, a commodity like grain or timber, valued only for your output.
The empire's navy, under Augustus and his successors, spanned the Mediterranean, from the Pillars of Hercules to the Nile. Galleys like this enforced Pax Romana, suppressing pirates, ferrying legions, protecting trade. But down here, in the bowels, it's not about glory. It's about endurance. Sometimes the ship accelerates, the pace quickening without warning. The drum speeds up, its beats coming faster, insistent. This means battle. An enemy fleet sighted, perhaps Carthaginian remnants, or rebellious provincials, or pirate vessels lurking in coves. Your oar suddenly feels twice as heavy, the water resisting more fiercely as the galley surges forward. The overseer screams orders, his voice hoarse over the din. "Pull, you dogs, pull for your lives." The whip cracks relentlessly, seeking out any hesitation. Men cry out as muscles tear, sharp pains ripping through backs and arms. Blood drips from hands onto the deck, mixing with old filth and seawater, turning the wood slick. You don't see the enemy, no viewports down here. Just the dim flicker of oil lamps swaying overhead. You don't know who wins, whether rams crunch into hulls, arrows whistle above, or boarding parties clash with swords. All you know is pull. Pull until your vision narrows to tunnels, black spots dancing. Pull until your arms shake uncontrollably, lungs burning for air. The ship shudders with impacts, perhaps a collision, or the thud of catapults. Water might flood in if hulls breach, but you row through it. If you collapse during battle, slumping lifeless over your oar, you die where you sit. No mercy, no revival. The machine rolls on without you. Afterward, if you're still alive and the ship intact, the pace slows. Victorious cheers filter down from above, but they mean nothing to you. The drum returns to its cruel normal, a steady throb, and the galley drifts forward, carried by the wreckage of bodies and wood floating in its wake. The sea claims the debris, as it claims everything eventually. Days blur into weeks, the sun's cycle marked only by shifts in light filtering through hatches. Weeks stretch into something shapeless, time losing meaning in the monotony. You stop counting the strokes, the meals, the deaths. Your body becomes a collection of aches instead of a person, throbbing hands, knotted back, raw ankles. Your name fades, a distant echo. You answer only to pain, to the drum's command. Scars accumulate, lash marks crisscrossing your back, calluses thickening on palms, teeth loosening from poor nutrition. Sometimes the ship docks in a port, Ravenna, Alexandria, or a nameless outpost. Fresh air rushes below deck like a miracle, carrying scents of pine, spices, roasting meat. You don't get to leave. Chains hold you fast, but you smell land. Trees heavy with resin, smoke from forges, bread baking in ovens, warm and yeasty. It almost hurts more than the whip, this reminder of the world above, tantalizing, unreachable.
Guards might hose down the decks with seawater to clear the worst filth, a brief respite from the stench. Sometimes new slaves are added, marched aboard in chains. You recognize the look in their eyes, the shock, the defiance, the flicker of hope. It doesn't last. The drum breaks them, as it breaks all. Old hands might mutter warnings, save your strength, don't fight it. But words are scarce, energy is precious. One night, the drum stops for longer than usual, hours perhaps, due to calm winds or a captain's whim. The ship drifts aimlessly, bobbing on gentle swells. The water slaps gently against the hull, a soothing counterpoint to the usual chaos. You feel something strange. Stillness. No commands barking, no shouting from above, just the creak of timber, the distant call of gulls. Some men cry quietly, tears cutting tracks through grime. Others laugh hysterically, the sound brittle and mad. A few share stories in whispers, tales of lost homes, of battles fought, of gods who might yet intervene. You sit there, chained, staring into the darkness lit only by faint moonlight seeping through cracks. And for the first time in a long while, you realize something profound. You are still alive. That's all. No victory over fate, no deeper meaning in the suffering, just breath, ragged and shallow, persisting against odds. Eventually, the drum starts again, as inevitable as the tide. Boom, boom, and you pull, muscles obeying out of habit. Some historians debate how long galley slaves survived in this hell. Some say months, bodies giving out under the strain. Others argue years for the hardy or lucky, toughened into automatons. It depended on the ship, its size, its maintenance, the captain, merciful or sadistic, the sea, calm voyages or storm-tossed horrors. The route mattered too, short patrols along coasts versus long hauls across the open Mediterranean where supplies dwindled and tempers frayed. But almost all agree on one thing. Very few ever return to land as the same person, minds fractured, bodies maimed, spirits quenched. Most didn't return at all, lost to waves, war, or waste. Records from the era, Pliny's writings, naval inscriptions, hint at the scale. Thousands consigned to galleys, fueling Rome's dominance. Yet individual names are rare. You are the anonymous masses, the unseen oars that propelled history. As the ship moves through the dark water night after night, the rhythm becomes strangely familiar, almost comforting in a twisted way, a constant in a world of chaos. Your body moves without thought, oar dipping and rising in mechanical precision. Pain becomes background noise, a dull hum you learn to ignore. Occasional moments of reprieve, a favorable wind allowing sails to take over, the drum silenced, offer glimpses of peace. In those times, you might gaze at the sliver of sky visible through a hatch, stars wheeling overhead, indifferent to your plight. And as exhaustion finally drags you into shallow sleep, your head resting on folded arms, one quiet thought drifts through your mind. Not hope for freedom, not dreams of escape, though chains make that impossible. Just this: please let the drums stop tomorrow. Let there be silence. Let there be rest. And with that thought, the oars rise and fall in endless cadence. The sea carries you onward into the unknown, and history moves forward without ever knowing your name or the quiet endurance that built its foundations. Breathe out now. Let the story fade. Sleep comes gently, like the tide receding.